Federalist scumbag! You have infringed on the rights of the states far too much. We'll see what the state of New York has to say about this.
Remember that old day you stormed out of the federal courthouse? You were fuming. Steam was coming out of your ears like one of your very own steamships.
Your jokes never get any better as we get older. That sure was a day to remember. We sparked quite a heated debate about commerce in our country. My business was changed forever. And you never let me forget the verdict.
Well, of course I would never let you forget. I'd suffered through your tyrannical monopoly for long enough. After all, our first encounter was far from friendly, remember?
Oh, trust me, I remember. I was minding my own business, transporting my cargo between New York and New Jersey on the Hudson River, when you came along with your puny little steamship.
I had a right to that water, and you know it. Who won the case? That's right, me.
Yeah. You knew I had a deal with the state of New York that gave me a monopoly over that waterway, and yet you still dared to traverse across what was rightfully mine.
I never understood how you got that monopoly in the first place. You bribed the state, didn't you, you sleazy old prune?
Not at all. My good friends Robert Livingston and Robert Fulton granted me a state license to operate all steamships between New York and New Jersey along the Hudson River. You, on the other hand, had no license from the state to operate under my monopoly. You claimed that your little federal coastal license was enough to grant you access to my waters.
The coastal license was required by the federal government to trade in America. You knew that license gave me the right to trade. Heck, I wasn't even trading. I was just transporting people up and down that river, yet you acted like your state license was superior, weaseling your way up to the New York State Court to try and kick me out. There, they were happy to grant you the injunction you wanted, trying to prevent me from trading with New York.
That's right. I took the issue to the state court and got my injunction. It could have ended there, but no, you had to take it to the Supreme Court and whine to Justice Marshall.
I had the right to appeal the New York State Court ruling because, according to the Commerce Clause in the Constitution, the federal government has the right to regulate interstate trade, and my license was issued by the federal government.
And that was what led to that momentous day.
I'm Thomas Emmett, accompanied by Thomas Oakley, and we are the lawyers for Aaron Ogden. We are here to defend the injunction granted him by the New York State Court. I am Daniel Webster, accompanied by William Wirt, and we are here to appeal on behalf of Thomas Gibbons, the ruling of the New York State Court and the injunction placed upon him. The federal license should override Ogden's state-issued license due to the Federal Licensing Act and the Commerce Clause of the Constitution.
Marshall was in a predicament. He had to decide whether the state or the federal government had superior authority over commerce. Both the 10th Amendment and the Commerce Clause of the Constitution seemed like fair justifications for either side, but Marshall's interpretation of both would be the decisive factor.
The states are entitled to control some commerce within their boundaries. However, the federal government also has a certain amount of control over interstate commerce. These concurrent powers are bound to contradict each other. Something must be established so that one set of laws is superior over the other.
Justice Marshall, the Hudson River is in New York. If the state of New York does not have control over its own waters, what does it have control over? What goes on in New York is the business of the state government, and only it can decide how it wants to regulate its citizens' actions. Perhaps, but those laws must still be constitutional. A state cannot allow an entire river to be owned by merely two people. If state laws are not required to be constitutional,
then each state should become their own monarchy, ignoring the fundamental principles of our federal Constitution.
I concur. The state of New York cannot be allowed to restrict its commerce to the control of just two men. This monopoly contradicts the free enterprise economic system that America enforces.
Justice Marshall, the monopoly does not harm the free enterprise system and has been established to affect trade within the state. I understand that Congress has the power to regulate foreign trade, but I've heard nothing about interstate trade.
And so the trial carried on.
My favorite part of the entire case was winning against you, you little...
You didn't win. Marshall just wanted to help unify the states by giving the federal government more power. Even though I was upset at that time, I thought Marshall really was intelligent.
My verdict is as follows. In order to unify the United States of America, a singular power must prevent contradictions between state and federal commerce laws. Therefore, states do not have the power to regulate interstate commerce. Furthermore, the Constitution assigns the authority to regulate business between the states to Congress under the Interstate Commerce Clause, and explicitly prohibits states from taking advantage of their waterways to gain profit from other states. Finally, the federal Constitution is regarded as supreme law. Therefore, the state must yield to it. Any state act inconsistent with the Constitution must be dismissed. The court's opinion, therefore, is that the decree granted to you, Mr. Ogden, by the state of New York ought to be reversed.
And that's where you walked out in a huff.
And for good reason, too. My whole business was ruined.
Aye, neither your nor my great-great-grandchildren have our commerce problems. With our case, Marshall redefined commerce to not only include goods, but people also. This helped protect my faring business under the Commerce Clause.
And he helped unify the states by preventing trade problems, by redefining the rights of the federal government to regulate interstate trade. Even though this increased the power of the federal government, I think it was for the better. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounded like someone was talking.
Is this house haunted?